Why am I excited? Because I'm so happy I was able to write a second book. So Colors of a Cultural Chameleon, which I think most of you have read, was my first book. And thanks to Don, my teacher in Cambridge, he is actually also the person who helped me self-publish. I had never heard of self-publishing before that. And Don is also the person who gave me many prompts in Boston and helped me start writing. I wanted to write a book, and many of the stories in Colors of a Cultural Chameleon are actually based on some of the prompts that Don gave me. He's also the editor of my first book and the person who told me, why don't you just go and self-publish? That's much better and easier, fast way. And then I many people who self-publish. I didn't realize that, and I see some other authors in this Zoom meeting too. Stephanie recently published her book as a lovely, and I was on her podcast, as she mentioned in the chat. But then published Colors of a Cultural Chameleon. It started off as a memoir. In the end, it's not a memoir, though it is very strongly based on many of my experiences as a child and growing up in different cultures, in different countries. But while writing, a story emerged, and I left out some of the personal stuff. I added more non-personal stuff in there. And the responses I got from Colors of a Cultural Chameleon were amazing. Like someone said, reading your book, I felt rejuvenated and I wanted to travel again. And I was like, wow. I mean, that was amazing that my book had that effect on someone. Someone else told me, who didn't know me, she told me, I read your book and I've given it to the library in our middle grade school, and children are reading your book. And I didn't imagine the children would be reading my book, but that too happened. And people told me, oh, I was with Kamala on that train going to Kerala. I was really on that train with her, and just having that experience of being able to provide that to people to travel while sitting in your armchair somewhere at home. So realizing that people enjoyed my book, but I also realized that Kamala's story, the main character in Colors of a Cultural Chameleon, her story wasn't finished. Her story had to continue, because Colors of a Cultural Chameleon was actually only about Kamala and her multicultural life. But it wasn't about her working life at all, actually, I realized. So I plan on writing a sequel. And I have told everyone this is a sequel to Colors of a Cultural Chameleon, but actually it's an add-on, because it starts somewhere midway of Colors of a Cultural Chameleon, but it talks about her working life. When Kamala starts her working life, what happens? And does she have to adjust to the corporate world? Does she have to adjust to the more male-dominated working space that she is at? Does she have to adapt? Does she have to assimilate? Or can she stay true to herself? And how does she manage juggling all those tasks she is given? What happens to her? And are there people along the way, strangers, often women, helping her, telling her, giving her advice? Will that happen? And I said, will that happen? Because I didn't know whether it was going to happen. I wanted it to happen. But when I write, just as happened in Colors of Cultural Chameleon, when I write, then a story emerges. So I know where I want to go, but I don't plan. I don't plot everything up to the details. I am a pantser, as they say in the writing world. I just sit on my chair and I start writing. And when I write, a story emerges. And with Kamala's Entropy, that's what happened. I wrote the story about Kamala when she starts working and how she has to adjust and all the stress that happens when you are a working woman. And that definitely is also based on my own experiences, but not only my experience, also experiences of many of my friends who, of course, tell me their stories and experiences, or people who I met somewhere along the way. But while writing Kamala's Entropy, I also realized that there was another person who wanted to be written, or who wanted to be a main character in the book. So now I don't only have Kamala from Colors of a Cultural Chameleon, but there's also her colleague Rosa. And Rosa, she suddenly became a main character too. And Rosa and Kamala both work in the same corporate world, the same office, So they have the same hurdles, but they both deal with it differently. So what happens? Like, why does one person, what happens to both of them in the same setting? And so interestingly, that happened. And I realized I could not talk about Rosa. I could not show Rosa's experiences without allowing Rosa to speak. So I had to write a book from the perspective of two different people. So in Kamala's Entropy, some chapters are written by, are told by Kamala, and some are told by Rosa. And that was a fun and amazing experiment for myself, like as a writer, to be able to get that right. And it took me like 1.5 years to actually be able to get the chapters chronologically in the right order, but also to be able to add that the vibe, the energy and the tension to create the climax. It was really tough to be able to put those two people tell both the stories, but have it right. It was very scary. Did I do it right or not? I didn't know until I sent it to the copy editor. And I don't know if Greer has joined as well. She was planning on joining, but I don't see her online yet. Greer Glover, whom I didn't know at all, from the UK. I felt I was very hesitant in, because see, Dawn I knew from my Boston time, but Greer, I didn't know Greer. I found her through internet, sent her an email, we had our email correspondence, and then I said, okay, I think she's okay, I can send her my manuscript, because it's quite daunting to send a manuscript to someone who you don't know what she's going to do with it, don't know how she's going to respond. But I did that, and I'm very grateful I did, because Greer helped me in fine-tuning my English, fine-tuning the writing. She was a copy editor, so she looked at the misspelled words, the British and American. I wanted British English, so she also changed those words for me. She changed it all to British English, and the first people who gave me a genuine review of Kamala's Entropy. And it's at the back, she says, Kamala's Entropy is a well-crafted novel with strong central characters and is infused with the flavors of different cultures. Themes of female and cultural identity, sisterhood, and mental health are explored with insight and sensitivity. It is a very enjoyable read. I was quite dumbstruck when I got that response, because I was like, wow, I mean, yeah, I was glad that I was able to, thank you, I was able to get my point across. And someone who has seen dozens of manuscripts, she gave me that compliment, and that meant a lot for me. So then I was, okay, it's okay. Now my book can go out into the world, and people are going to read it, and I would love people to read it. Then I had my book launch event, and my job coach, who really helped me a lot in making the shift from being an engineer in a corporate world to becoming a science and technology educator in a completely different field, working with children, allowing the children to wander, allowing the children to express themselves, being creative, and nothing is wrong and right. That was a new world that I entered thanks to my job coach, Monique, who's not here today, but she was there on the 22nd of November. And she also gave a small speech, like the pictures that you saw previously. Those were her pictures that she used. And she told me, it's not about what you can do, it's about what you want to do. And for me, that was it. That was my cue to quit my job and start what I'm doing now. And it's the best decision ever. I'm a writer, I'm an educator, and I'm much, much more than that. Many different aspects of who I am. And I can truly embrace all my colors now, like that cultural chameleon. I'm a cultural chameleon in more than one sense, and I embrace my colors, and I hope everyone else could and is able to do that too. And that's also, I suppose, one of the Well, one of the underlying layers of Kamala's entropy, make your choice. Whatever the choice is, it's okay, it's your choice. Can be tough. Choices are tough, but once you make them, then, well, can be happy. And as you know, like I am a chaotic person. While I was working at the corporate company, I didn't realize I was creative. I am an engineer. I'm biotechnology. I love that. I love my work. I loved looking for solutions and trying to find the best way, and complex puzzles makes me happy. I enjoy that. But I did not enjoy the corporate setting where I had to do it as cheap as possible, a few hours as possible, let others do the work because you're becoming too expensive. I didn't like that setting, and somehow I had to break free from that setting. And I realized I'm creative. And that's what I'm using now. But the downside of creativeness is also chaos. And I used to shy away from that chaotic person. Like, you don't be chaotic because that's not okay. But I have also embraced that my chaotic personality, and I love it because I enjoy doing different things, um, and that makes me happy. That gives me energy. And why did I choose Kamala's Entropy? Because this is the book, Kamala's Entropy. I first wanted to call it something else. I first wanted to call it Shakti, but that's my name. And if I would call it Shakti, everyone would think it's a biography, but it's not a biography. This is even less a biography than Colors of a Cultural Chameleon. For that, I would say, okay, yeah, it's really based on my story, but this one is much, much less biography. But if I would call it Shakti, everyone would think it's a biography. Why did I want to call it Shakti? Because Shakti is Indian goddess, right? And also feminine energy. And for me, so I love my name. Shakti, feminine energy, is also the energy, the vibes that we feel when we meet each other. Like when women amongst each other, when we meet each other, there's a vibe, there's a sense of compassion, of belonging, of togetherness, of helping each other. At least that's what I experience. And for me, that's the sisterhood. And I have met many, many people online, especially as well. And I see Trish and Stephanie and Wiebke, you're all part of that community that I have found online, the sisterhood that I cherish. So I wanted to call it Shakti because for me, Shakti is that sisterhood, that vibe that women feel when they meet each other. But I was not going to call it Shakti because it would be a memoir. So then, entropy. Why entropy? Entropy has always been something I found very intriguing ever since middle school. So at least I know since we were 16 years old. That's also when I first heard about entropy. And entropy is a scientific term which is about energy. In a system has a high or a low energy, and all the different movements within a system of the atoms, that's defined as entropy. So for example, ice has a very low entropy because it's like all the molecules, they don't have much space to move around. Water has more movement possibilities, and there's more movement in that. And in water vapor, in gas, there's even more movement, like lots of like that. So every system has its own entropy, but also every system is in search of equilibrium. So, and each system has a different equilibrium. And for me, is so important that you find your own equilibrium. And some can have a low entropy, a low energy level, some high energy level, but we all are in search of our own equilibrium. And when I realized that was also actually the theme of the book, I knew I had to call it Kamala's Entropy. But then, how many of you had heard of entropy before you heard about my book? I see some people shaking their head. Yeah, you did. So, But I thought, yeah, can I call it Kamala's Entropy? Because no one will know what it's about. But okay, that was my work title. It was called Kamala's Entropy. Then I started telling people about the title, and people actually quite liked it. And then I thought, okay, I think I'm to stick with Entropy.